Good morning, gentlemen. JK, your brother in this struggle here. On my way back from the gym, as usual. I'd like to take a brief moment to address the tragic events which happened in Atlanta recently. The shootings at the spa, and just the terrible loss of life. It's a really messed up thing, and I can't imagine what it's like to just, for so many families to just lose so many people. It doesn't make sense. A lot of people are trying to make sense of it, and it's a horrible thing. Not to sound cliche, but my heart really does go out to the families because I don't know what that feels like. When I try to imagine it, I'm just like, I can't compute. It's a horrible thing. The reason why I'm shooting this video, though, is not to offend anybody, and it's not to take the focus away from anything, but it is to just put my voice out there, because I have a feeling that one of the possible motivations for this crime might be swept under the rug. And I think this could be instead an opportunity to examine this. There's a lot of things going on in this country right now. There have been hate crimes against Asians, or rather they have increased. And there's no denying that this was possibly Asian-owned establishments. And so there are many parties who are going to jump on this in an emotional way or in a politically motivated way to kind of get their point across and get their agenda across. And I have nothing against that. I think those are very important issues. There are the hate crimes against Asians. There are the folks who are very concerned about hate crimes against sex workers. So there are these individuals and these groups who are possibly going to take advantage of it. And I think go ahead and do that. But I think there's one important thing, and that is the sexual addiction and the pornography addiction part. Because this man, Robert Aaron Long, I believe is his name, according to family members or anonymous callers, allegedly was kicked out of his house prior to this shooting because of his uncontrollable, compulsive behavior with pornography. His family couldn't take it. He had also apparently been treated for sexual addiction, right? The headlines are like, authorities scramble to find out the motivation. And then you look at the news and there are all these parties going like, it is absurd to think that this is a porn addiction. It is absurd to think that this is not a hate crime. Why is that absurd? Why is it absurd, right? The only possible facts that have come out of this, the only thing that his family has apparently actually said is that this guy had a sex addiction. He had a porn addiction. I know some people are going to think, well, he probably had some mental health issues. We don't know yet. That is possible. But what I'm trying to say is that it is not out of the realm of possibility that this was a guy who briefly became unhinged because he could not control his behavior. It is also possible that this is not a sex worker problem. This is not a racially motivated issue. And this is a man problem. Here's what I mean. I've been helping men end their compulsive behavior with pornography for going on 9 years now. And back in the day, when I personally took calls, I would get calls from men who were otherwise upstanding members of society. These were great guys. They had wonderful families. They were deacons in their church. They were very involved in multiple areas of their life. And, give me 1 second, let me back up here. They were upstanding members of society, all right? And they would call me when they got kicked out of their homes by their wives. My wife said that she'd had enough, JK, and we'll get these messages. They're crying. They're like, I think it's over. I think she's going to divorce me. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to lose the kids. I can't believe that I ended up in this spot because of this porn addiction. Ask any police officer who has conducted a sting on Johns who are looking for escorts, right? If they get busted, with their dick out, and the escort is actually an undercover police officer. Ask them what happens. 9 out of 10 times, the men just break down and start crying. They lose it emotionally. It is not impossible that this guy had an uncontrollable problem and did not have the resources. He did not see anything in society that told him that, hey, you're going to be able to control this. It's also possible that, again, when I say this is a man problem, I come across a lot of young men, and by young men, I am these days, unfortunately, including men who are in their late 20s to early 30s, who are basically struggling with Peter Pan syndrome. There are a lot of young men today who have not been raised by men. And I know this might be inflammatory, but the truth is there are a lot of men who have not been told that and shown through discipline that there are consequences to your actions. That when a woman rejects you, you can't just flip out and be like, bitch, fuck you. But there's so many men like this, right? There's so many men on dating apps who approach women in person and they don't know how to handle this. And I believe it's because there are not enough masculine men who are teaching them the right way to handle pain and rejection, and who are showing them that men are supposed to handle pain and rejection, right? So again, my point is, I was gonna make this brief. My point is, I hope that there are some other voices of reason out there that will possibly bring the focus back to the compulsive behavior component. We don't know what it is. You know, this is just my opinion. But again, you know, I think it would be a shame if some other issue, which is also important, just takes precedence over this in this tragic incident. So again, anybody who watches this, who feels offended, it's not my intention to offend anybody before the facts are out. I just want to put my voice out there because that is the only thing that has actually been shared with the police, the porn and sexual addiction part, right? So this is something that needs to be dealt with, and it's not to be dealt with by punishing men, right? These things easily go that way. Like, these men are misogynistic, toxic masculinity. It is not about that. There's nothing like toxic masculinity. They're just men who don't know how to be masculine. There's nothing like toxic masculinity. I said it, right? They're men who have just not been taught how to take responsibility. All right, enough. You guys have a wonderful day. Those of you who can relate to this, and I know there are men who are watching this who get very angry. There are men who have a lot of repressed anger, and it only takes a little something to trigger them. Brothers, seek help. SAA is free. Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, find one in your city. There are a lot of free groups out there. Work with a therapist, a counselor. Seek help for your compulsive behavior today. You don't need to do it with porn reboots. You don't have to. We have a lot of free resources, but please start with something that's in your city. Go see a counselor in your church, right? Deal with your anger issues. Have a wonderful day, guys.